This is where the cold and darkness lasts for months. The Norwegian archipelago of Svalbard lies just over 1,000 kilometers from the North Pole. I am in the tiny Norwegian town of Longyearbyen, the world's northernmost settlement, home to around 2,400 residents from 53 different countries. It's a place where people carry guns to protect themselves from polar bears. And here, in this remote Arctic setting, is where Russia and Norway face each other. I meet the people of Longyearbyen to find out how Russia's war in Ukraine and climate change are impacting their life in the Arctic.
Alaskan husky is 76 of my colleagues, my friends. This is what they really love doing, pulling. And plus they're in a huge pack. It's quite obvious that they're not being forced to do this. Wanted to work outside, being in the nature. That's my reason for moving here, I guess. Their fur, they have a super nice fur, double coated, so they can sleep outside. Very adapted.
Ivar tells me that since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, his tourism company has stopped providing boat and snowmobile trips to the nearby Russian settlement of Barentsburg.
No trips to the Russian settlements anymore. The war in Ukraine is everybody is now boycotting. Not everybody, but the bigger companies are all as a boycott on all Russian settlements. Before everything was normal. That was trips, good communications, good.
Svalbard is.
I meet the newly elected mayor of Longyearbyen, Terje Aunevik. There is a polar bear bone on his office wall and a family portrait with the Crown Prince of Norway on a shelf.
Svalbard is 1.5 the size of Denmark.
The Russian town of Barentsburg is just 70 kilometers away from the Norwegian Longyearbyen.
So we have always had a very close and friendly relation to Barentsburg. We still have, that is important for me to say, to the people in Barentsburg. The challenge is, of course, that Barentsburg is 100% government owned and driven, so it's all connected directly to the Russian state. And the sanction regime from Norway's side and the EU side is quite clear, and we kind of connect to that. There was a ban on importing diesel from Russia, and Russia was a big supplier of, used to be a big supplier of diesel. Diesel price skyrocketed.
This building behind me used to be the world's northernmost coal power plant, which produced electricity for the whole town. In October this year, it was shut down, and now electricity is diesel generated. In the long term, though, Longyearbyen is aiming for a zero-emission energy supply. But reaching for this goal will not be straightforward.
And over there we have the canning machine, which is a machine to can.
I visit the Svalbard Brewery, the world's northernmost craft brewery. They produce 15 different types of beer with the local glacier meltwater.
We try to switch fully to sustainable energies, but for now we depend still a little bit on the power plant.
So are you concerned that it's being closed and you haven't figured it out yet how to fully sustain yourself?
A little bit, yes, because burning diesel is not the best option. I mean, coal is also not the best option, but at least you don't have to bring it up here. It's already here. Bringing the diesel by ship up here will of course increase the prices, and it's also not very sustainable, let's call it that way. So there would have been better ways, but it is what it is. I have no say in that.
So you will cope with the situation the way it goes?
We have to. Otherwise we have to close down. And we're not going to do that. This is the container we've been talking about. That's where we dry the spent grains in. So what we have here is kind of a metal mesh underneath here, and we just blow air through it. Then it dries, and when it's dry, we can finally burn it. We create our hot water with that.
It's a massive shift for us to go from coal plant to something new, and which is not completely clear yet, you know. In the middle of this, we had a war in Europe, established by our neighbor country.
In his office high on the hill, Svalbard Governor Lars Fause shows me a drawing.
This picture shows Mr. Helge Ingstad, the former assistant governor in 1932 with his dog sledge.
The governor of Svalbard is appointed by the King of Norway.
My chief, my boss, to keep the peace and stability. Nowadays is even more important than before.
Why? What can undermine this peace and stability here?
If the people living on Svalbard do not follow the Norwegian legislation and the authority of the government.
In August this year, representatives of the Russian company Arktikugol installed an Orthodox Christian cross on the mountainside in another Russian settlement on Svalbard, the town of Pyramiden.
Giant cross in Pyramiden, and you ordered it to be removed. Why did you order it removed?
I saw the cross. It's not gigantic. It's only 8 meters high in the wilderness. Yeah, it was. It's illegal inside the planning area. Inside the planning area of a pyramid. If you shall put up a cross inside the regulation planning area, you have to apply to the governor, of course, and you have to wait for the decision from the governor before you can put up the cross. It's very simple. In my point of view, the Russians are following the Norwegian legislations and Norwegian government in Svalbard in their best way.
I asked Arktikugol to comment on the installation of the cross, and they replied with this written statement.
The tradition to put up crosses was widespread among the Pomor's people, who explored Svalbard many centuries ago. The cross that was put up in Pyramiden is the symbol of the Pyramiden revival. The question about the size and the placement of the cross we consider inappropriate, as this is about a religious symbol and its importance for the local residents.
The cross, maybe the cross case is one small issue in the portfolio. We have to see and wait for the decision of the parliament to take care of this case.
It's around 11 o'clock, and
Yes.
it's so dark.
Oh, this is nothing. This is still light. This is twilight. Look at all that blue you can see. Come December, it will be dark. It will be black. My name is Elizabeth Bourne. I am a painter and a photographer, and I'm the director of the Spitsbergen Artist Center and Residency, and I have lived on Svalbard for 6 years. I fell in love with the Arctic, and I fell in love with Svalbard, and I moved here. I sold my apartment. I sold everything I had back in Seattle. On Svalbard, we feel like we have our proper place in the world. We are small. The nature is so big and so beautiful, and you realize how unimportant we are. There's a lot of other creatures in nature, and they are as important to the natural world as we are. So this is the Spitsbergen Artist Center. It's a very big building that gives you notifications of polar bears and avalanches. That room has an interesting history. When the Ukraine war broke out, people were encouraged to write messages of love and support for the people in Ukraine, and people here would photograph this as different messages came out, and then they would send those pictures and those messages to their family and friends in Ukraine so that they would understand that we were supporting them. Still have the photographs here, which were a comparison at that time of the peace in Moscow and what was going on in Kyiv, so that people could see that. And then the local population of Ukrainians and supportive Russians would meet people here and would talk to them about their experience and what was happening in Ukraine. cyanotype, so it looks old. We have always had a very friendly relationship with the Russian settlements here. That's ended now. There's a certain sense of, not a single ruble should go into Putin's pocket.
Other Longyearbyen residents who didn't want to be named and be on camera told me that they do not support the boycott of Russian settlements on Svalbard. Politics should not have intervened in Longyearbyen's well-established relations with Barentsburg. A resident told me, "Those people in Barentsburg are just ordinary miners." They added. Maria Jensen is one of dozens of scientists from all over the world who are based here and studying the Arctic. She has been living in Longyearbyen for more than 15 years.
But when I first came, this fjord would be frozen all through the winter. And now it's never frozen anymore, only very occasionally forming a bit of ice on the surface. Within the last couple of decades, that has changed significantly. Svalbard is one of the places where climate change happens very, very fast, 4 times as fast as in lower latitudes.
It's very sad to tell you so, but the ice is melting, and in some years to come, 10, 50, 100 years, it might be possible to sail the shortest distance directly from Europe through the North Pole to Asia. Svalbard is a unique position, even if it comes to the future.
Fundamentals of the house is we drill pillars into the ground, and now we see that the houses are getting more and more unstable, and we don't know yet what will be the long-term consequences of that. We see that on the roads that are starting to move in a more speedy way, avalanche challenges. When I came in '98, no one was speaking of avalanches. Now we've spent, I'm not sure how many millions to secure the town towards avalanches.
The polar bear and the seal and the Barents.
Governor Fause shows me a present he got from the children of Barentsburg.
Barentsburg and Pyramiden is Russian property, but Norwegian land. And we have this regular contact meeting with them 5 times a year. Next contact meeting is in 1 week to come. And it's very important for me to tell you that every people in Svalbard shall be treated equally in any matters. And I put my heart inside this issue.
After the diesel, what energy will you use?
So we're looking into different possibilities at the moment. Wind, solar energy is gaining traction in town, and we're also looked into possibility for geothermal energy, for example, because there is a high heat gradient, as it's called, in the subsurface here under Longyearbyen. But these are all big investments, so it's not something that's happening tomorrow, but it's something that we as scientists are looking into.
It was nice to go to Barentsburg before the war. No, it's different. So it reminded me of when I was in Russia many years ago. I had a really nice stay there, but of course I don't go there now because of the war. What Russia has done is so really bad that I don't want to support them in any way or show that.
As the war in Ukraine continues, the future of relations between Norway and its neighbor, Russia, remains uncertain. And while climate change warms the seas and melts the ice away, the Arctic as we know it today will vanish. With all the challenges people face here, it's clear that open dialogue will be vital for those who live on Svalbard to navigate through these turbulent times.